Hi guys, Stephen here, back again. This video is going to be about when covert narcissists discard and devalue you. You know, the covert narcissistic discarding and devaluing, it sucks. It really does. We have that friend, somebody that we've been friends with. It could be a very long time, years and years. It could be in a case. It could be a girlfriend, or people, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. But all of a sudden, when there's those, having to deal with a lot of the time, you're dealing with those passive aggressive remarks. That could be in person, it could be text, it could be WhatsApp, on social media, whatever. And you're dealing with all of this bullshit that the covert narcissist, their own bullshit, it's their own crap, but yet they're projecting it onto you. But yet there can be times though where when you're dealing with it and you feel, well, are they doing this for good reason? Have I brought this on? Do I deserve this? And because there is this thing that people always say, everything you bring onto your life, it's all on you. That's your own problem, your own mess. And I understand, we do get ourselves in messy, sticky situations, and we do have to take personal responsibility for what we do, moving forward. But that thing where the burden gets put on us, like, oh, well, if this covert narc has all of a sudden started talking to us like we're just a piece of crap in their shoe, that's our fault. But hang on, why all of a sudden are they doing that? And why all of a sudden can they do that and then, do they essentially get away with it? With discarding, I think it's just one of those things with discarding. It's like, gradually as it goes on more and more, they keep treating you in more of a shitty way, time after time and time again, they keep doing it. And, if you're still hanging on, you still in that mind want to believe that they're your friend. But let's be honest, you're probably saying to yourself, I can't see this lasting, this friendship. And it's a tough thing for us to get out of, because it's that shared fantasy space that we have with these people, these covert narcs. Because let's say if they were a genuine friend at one point, and it's that thing, you're talking, when I say shared fantasy space, it's, we had all those great moments, we went out on, to, weekends and to the bar, nightclub, whatever. We went out to watch the team that we both support play at whatever, the football stadium. And you've had those moments, you've had those great times, you've had those great laughs. And it is easier said than done to cut these people out of your life. It's a lot easier said than done. It is that game that kind of gets played with the covert narcs, where it's kind of like they're saying with their actions, what they're saying between the lines is, you need me more than I need you, is what they're saying. They're taking leverage, either perceived or real leverage, and they're exploiting that, and they're exploitative people. And this is where you get into the thing about, the overt narcissists will exploit, you know what I mean? But they're upfront about it. They don't try and kid on like they don't do that. And you can get into this whole thing, it could become like a political thing, when it comes to like, capitalism and what have you. I'm a big believer in capitalism, socialism. Socialism at the grassroots is fine, but some people might say, well, big, like crony type capitalists will take advantage and exploit. But, if you see somebody like that, at least if they're upfront about it, well, for me anyway, at least if they're upfront about it, I can kind of respect that. But when it's the covert narc and they're kidding, they're kidding on that, they're like, hey, I just want to be your friend. I just want to make a lot of friends here. I'm a good person. I mean well. I'm always smiling. I'm this big extrovert. And hey, look at me. Look at this big extrovert I am. Where they, it's always these type of people in social media that make out that they're this big extrovert, and then you meet them in person and they're actually quite more, introverted. But it's that thing. They will exploit you, but do it with a nice, harmless grin on their smile on their face, not grin, smile. But so the discarding thing sucks, but then it's more than that, because they devalue you. They're essentially saying, you don't have value, I don't value you, I don't really see you as a friend. Either no more, or they never really did see you as a friend. And the valuing thing is because they're projecting that on you. They're the ones who have felt devalued. And again, that can go back to trauma, childhood trauma. That could go back to having a very difficult situation. It could have been that their dad left, or their mum left the home at a very young age. It could just be something of like a real, maybe strict disciplinarian father that spoke to them like crap and said, "Oh, you're never going to amount anything. Look at this. Look at you. Look how overweight you are. This, that, the other." There's all these different reasons as to how they've turned out this way. There's a lot of things. I mean, I always say one of the reasons I think covert narcs get away with it for so long is because this image they've been able to cultivate over time of being this nice, harmless person. And I think that's a lot of the time how they get away with it. They avoid accountability, real accountability. And no one ever calls them out on their shit. So that's a large part of it as well. But really, they're projecting that devaluation. They're projecting it onto you, and that could just be a multitude of things. It could be they're jealous of you. You could have been that popular athletic kid the girls liked. That could be a thing. Lack of control, because not all, but a good few covert narcs I've met, I would just say are straight up control freaks. And if it's always that thing of feeling, not sure I'm in control of this person, not in control of that situation, that's not a great way to live your life. You're going to be in constant kind of like stress all the time. And I think the thing with the covert narc is that there's that thing of the supply they're lacking. They go from like elation to depletion. Where, the upfront narcissist, think of like an upfront narcissist, like, well, take away the whole controversy with the whole comments about Hitler and all that. Kanye West is an upfront narcissist. Kanye West has that supply all the time. He might have a low period where he feels bad or feels like, not all his rapper, hip-hop people are there to support him and have his back in a certain situation. But he goes around in his mind all the time thinking, I'm great, I'm the shit. And he's had a great reason to think that most of his life when he's amazing rapper and producer. But these covert narcs, and when I think of most covert narcs I've dealt with, I've never, for one, I don't think they're particularly interesting people. They don't seem to be particularly talented. I don't think for the most part they were destined to do great things in this world. So can you really, is it no surprise that this is what they're all about, projecting their shit onto us to make us feel just as shit as they do? It should come to no surprise, right? It will all be. It's always about projection, and it's just it's too much, isn't it? Because we don't have to put up with that shit, but at times we're made to feel like, we should tolerate that shit because we've got bad in us. We're not always this great person either. We may have, when we were teenagers, said something to them. We might have been a dick to them then. It's just. You'll search your mind for all these reasons as to why all of a sudden are they doing this to me? Why have they discarded me? Why did they devalue me? But truthfully, you just got to let that go. It's just because then you just mentally will beat yourself up asking those questions, and it's not easy. I know it's not, and if they've meant something to you in your life for a long time, it's not easy letting that shit go. But the thing is, they want us to devalue ourselves. Remember that. That's what they want us to devalue ourselves, and then they feel like they've got this. Like now, all of a sudden, they dominate us. And anyway, it's pathetic how they look at things, but it's just what they do. They want the power. They want that. And again, when I say power, they're not like the overt narcissist. These types of covert narcissists wouldn't say boo to a goose. These covert narcissists understand it's about words and mind games, because if it came to ever a physical confrontation, they would never be able to handle themselves. That's like 95% of the covert narcs I deal with are just total wimps. But their words are strong, you know. Like we live in an inverted world. Let's face it. When they tell us that when we're 5 or 6 years old, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. That's all bullshit. I mean, it's those things that hurt your feelings that stay with you, way more than that bully when you were 8 years old when he punched you in the playground. Those things that they say that hurt your feelings and totally crossing the line and making it real personal, that will stay with you. It really would. And the discarding thing sucks, but it's the one thing when they discard you, and there's that thing where they want to get off on you, then eventually coming back to them and basically begging them for you to forgive them and to allow you to become part of their life again. I mean, I had one situation with the friendship group I was part of, probably about 8-9 so years ago, and one guy, basically he sided with the guy who was his best friend. His best friend had done something that was wrong, flat out wrong. He had lied. He ran to the aid of his best friend. I was the only one to call his best friend shit out, but he decided that he was going to side with his best friend and then basically make it out like I was the biggest piece of shit walking God's green earth. Do not hang around him. He's no good. He's nothing, kind of thing. And then that's just that thing. They'll blank you. They'll ignore your messages. They won't bother. They won't read them even on social media. And they make out they're done with you, but then at the same thing, it's that thing of, you know, they'll say, oh, you know, later on they might message and say, oh, it's all good. You know, I wish you all the best. I've forgotten about all that. But then, you know, they'll make little cryptic digs on their social media pages. And in one case with this guy, he actually made a dig about my grandmother who had just died, you know. Yeah, he was a real classy guy. So the thing is, they don't really want to fully cut you out of their life. I think it is more of kind of like a power thing. It is that thing of they want you to just be this soft, whimpering, weak piece of garbage, and you've always got to go to them, running to them. You know, your supply comes through them. And that's kind of maybe linked to what I was talking about in the first video about you know, love leveraging, because that's actually the same guy I'm referring to when I was in the first video talking about the guy who was a control freak. So it is real tough dealing with the thing of being discarded and getting devalued, but we really have to stand the fuck up to them. We really do. And it takes time. This is like, for me, like 7 or so years in the making, but I'm now at that stage where I feel I'm going to stand up to them and I'm calling them out on their bullshit. You know, you could dare say I'm on a little bit of a crusade with this. And a lot of it comes from, you know, they start fucking with your head, and then you start having these bad thoughts and feelings in your head. But you really have to kind of like correct yourself with things you say, you know what I mean? It's like, for example, let's say you're dealing with a covert narcissist and they straight up hate their life, hate their job. They're always moaning about their job and how their boss treats them like shit and they want to quit and this, that, the other. And they very much are these people that have that life sucks, fuck FML, fuck my life mentality. So watch, don't be using the same type of language they do, because you're so much better than that and you want to be actually a good person, a productive, you know, human being. You know, like, let's, for example, you know, people might say fuck my life, which I hate that. Instead, if you ever get caught saying something similar like that, like, oh God, oh, fuck my life, quickly correct yourself. I love my life. You know, if you say something bad and negative, like, oh, fuck this shit, I'm feeling so down and dumps, I'm depressed as fuck. No, I'm not. I'm happy. I'm raring to go. I'm prepared for all the challenges as this world gives me, all the challenges that you know, the creator will have my way. You know, you've got to start correcting yourself and getting that positive mindset. You really have to develop a warrior type mindset. And it's taken me a while, you know what I mean? You might not be there, but for me, at my stage of my life, early 30s, I'm getting there now. And I'm going to call them out on their shit. And, you know, whether it's a thing of, you know, they've cut me off or I've cut them off or whatever the hell, you know, basically, if they're not going to treat you like a grown-up and they're not going to treat you like a human being, at that point, you got to cut them out your life. You know, it's not easy, but you've got to try and do it, because that thing of being discarded and just feeling like you're valueless is bullshit. Because you can make all these you start getting down on yourself, and you might say to yourself, well, maybe if I worked a bit harder, they would have valued me more. Maybe, you know, if I hadn't been an asshole to them back when we were 13 or 14, maybe they would value me more. But this is just all it's all bullshit. You know, covert narcs, you know, the people, I was raised Catholic, people say once a Catholic, always a Catholic. I dare say once a covert narc, always a covert narc. That's always who they were. And the thing is, what you got to remember about value is that value is value. You know, yeah, you can work harder to be more of you get all this in the PUA communities for men, but more of a high value, high status man. You could always work harder on yourself, absolutely. But regardless of whether you're skinny or fat, I don't care. Value is value. You have value. You know, I'd heard this guy say this, and I really like this. Really good, analogy. You know, gold, right? You know, gold doesn't have to work hard to create value. You know, same for diamonds. Gold is gold. Diamonds are diamonds. You have that intrinsic value in you. So don't ever let some worthless, shit disturbing covert narc devalue you, because you're so much better than that. You really are. And it's always just double standards with them. They might worship and idolize somebody that was like a first-class honours degree or has a PhD or whatever the hell, but then, you know, they probably, if somebody calls them out on their bullshit, but they're, you know, just as smart, you know, they would just write that person off as a piece of shit and then just continue hanging around with the clowns and the idiots who, you know, that they, who let them do whatever it is they want to do. You know, unlike us, you know, we're the type of people, and we've got to get into this situation now where we call them out on their shit, and we're not going to take their shit lying down. But those are my thoughts on that, guys. About the narcissist, when, you know, covert narcissist discard and devalue us. But I'm going to be more. I'm going to be quite good with being more uploading content quite frequently, doing this, because I really want to get into this, and I'm kind of chomping at the bit to on this crusade here about calling out the covert narcs, because for too long I feel they've been getting away with it and fucking over, you know, too many good people in this world. But those are my thoughts on all that, guys. Thanks.